This episode is provided by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about AI and B2B marketing in calendar weeks 33 and 34. Frennis is a B2B market research company that supports enterprise marketing teams in unlocking the full potential of their customer data with the help of AI. So, imagine ranking #1 on Google organically for years.
Oh yeah, the dream.
Right, you're relying entirely on that pipeline, and then you just completely vanish overnight just because a buyer asks an AI the exact same question.
It is terrifying.
It really is. So we have this massive stack of curated insights from B2B marketing practitioners who are basically on the front lines right now. And the mission of today's deep dive is to figure out the mechanics behind these massive shifts.
Yeah, because looking across all these sources, the overarching thesis is pretty undeniable. I mean, the center of gravity in B2B marketing has just moved entirely.
Oh, for sure.
The industry is no longer debating, whether to adopt these technologies. Like, that conversation is just over.
Right. The mandate now is operationalization.
Exactly. The real problem is how you actually integrate these generative systems without breaking your brand trust or, destroying your domain reputation.
Or your data architecture.
Right. Compromising that fundamental data architecture.
So if the whole landscape is changing, I feel like the most logical place to start is the very top of the funnel. Like how buyers even find you in this new environment.
Yeah, it all starts there.
And Bjorn Ratty points out a really fundamental pivot here. Traditional SEO has always asked, how do I rank?
Right.
But Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO, it asks a completely different question, which is, how do I become the source an AI trusts?
And the underlying mechanics of those two questions are just completely opposed. I mean, Traditional search engines are essentially librarians.
Yeah, they just fetch things.
Exactly. They retrieve links based on keyword density and backlinks.
Mm-hmm.
But AI answer engines, they're synthesizers.
Right, they're actually reading the material.
Yeah, they read it and construct an answer based on what they perceive as a factual consensus. And Nicholas Nadal shared a ref's analysis that perfectly illustrates this disconnect.
Okay, what did they find?
So they looked at millions of cited URLs in Google AI overviews, and they found that only 38% of the cited sources were actually in Google's traditional top 10 search results.
Wow, so that's a staggering disconnect.
It is.
It implies that the signals Google uses to rank a standard blue link are heavily divorced from the signals its own AI uses to validate a definitive answer.
Precisely. And Delphin Vazel will back this up with his own observations. Being a legacy brand or a category leader with massive historical domain authority, it does not give you a free pass into AI-generated answers.
Right, because they're looking for something else.
Right. Generative models look for structured information and clear entity relationships. So if your website is full of, marketing fluff rather than definitive, logically structured statement.
Yeah, AI just ignores it.
Exactly. It simply cannot parse your expertise.
Man, the most concerning part of this for a marketing director has to be the volatility.
Oh, yeah.
Thomas Ross actually noted that this visibility is incredibly unstable. He tracked one brand that was cited 94% of the time for their own brand queries.
Wait, 94%?
Yeah, 94%. And suddenly that dropped to 9% for non-brand queries. And they would just frequently vanish completely from day to day.
That's wild.
Right. He's telling teams that weekly monitoring is now an absolute requirement.
And to understand why it's so volatile, you have to look at how retrieval augmented generation, or ARA, actually works under the hood.
Okay.
Unlike a static search index, when a user prompts an AI, the system fetches a dynamically generated set of context documents to build its answer.
Right.
So microscopic changes in the user's prompt, or even slight adjustments to the AI's internal weighting, it changes which documents get pulled into that context window.
So you could be the top answer on Monday.
And by Thursday, the model weights have shifted, and you are entirely excluded from the response generation.
Which means the old SEO playbook, like earning a top spot and checking a dashboard once a month, is totally obsolete.
Completely obsolete.
So how does a marketing team actually build a durable strategy for this?
Yep. Vanhishika Pargava argues that we have to stop obsessing over a single magical AI visibility score. She notes that frameworks like SEMrush are now tracking roughly 18 different KPIs to measure this space.
Oh, wow, 18.
Yeah, so we are looking at a massive matrix of discoverability, clarity, authority, trust, prompt gaps, all of it.
It requires a total architectural shift in how you build your digital presence.
It really does.
Anna York shared a 12-point landing page checklist for earning the specific type of algorithmic trust. And what really stands out is her emphasis on entity-based language.
Yes.
Let's break that down for a second, because entity-based language kind of sounds like a term engineers use just to confuse marketers.
It really does.
I assume this basically means moving away from stuffing long-tail keywords and instead, writing in a way that helps the AI map relationships.
That is exactly the mechanism. And AI doesn't read a sentence like we do. It maps nodes. So if you are a cybersecurity company, the AI is looking for definitive statements that connect the entity of your brand to the entity of a specific compliance standard or, a threat vector.
Right.
You have to write in clear subject-verb-object structures. And she also emphasizes providing a real hero asset, like proprietary data, backed up with verifiable case studies. The AI is scanning for evidence, not persuasion.
That makes Ann Smarty's observation incredibly relevant here. She pointed out that about pages are now mission critical for generative AI citations.
Yes.
Which is funny because historically, the about page is where companies just throw up some corporate headshots and a vague mission statement, and then they never update it again.
Right. It's just an afterthought. But from the perspective of an AI crawler like ChatGPT or Gemini, that about page is the root node of your entity graph.
Oh, I see.
It actively crawls those pages to assess legitimacy. Like, who are the founders? What is the verified history of the company? What are your physical locations?
So it's vague.
If that page lacks structured factual data, the AI just lowers its confidence score in your entire domain.
Wow. Kyle Atwater-Morley added another layer to this strategy that I think solves a lot of the confusion. AI systems demand a clear point of view.
Yes, they do.
Like, broad topical coverage is actually a liability now. His example was brilliant. He said, Great Jones is the Dutch oven you give for milestone moments.
That's so specific.
Right. You have to plant a flag with a one-sentence angle, prove it on your own site, and then build off-site proof points across the web so the AI naturally associates your brand with that highly specific concept.
Because if you don't define the category for the AI is just going to define it for you.
Yeah.
And it will likely lump you in with 10 other generic competitors.
Exactly.
But there is a massive risk in treating this purely as an algorithmic game. Liz Adams shared a cautionary tale about this. Over a period of just 9 days, the share of ChatGPT answers drawing on Reddit citations plummeted from 13% to 2.2%.
So meaning, if a brand had just spent 6 months seeding subreddits to manipulate ChatGPT's training data,
their entire pipeline evaporated in a little over a week.
That is brutal.
Yeah. Chasing algorithmic loopholes is incredibly fragile. The point there is that living your brand, being genuinely useful, and creating durable first-party trust across every touch point is the only strategy that actually holds up when OpenAI or Google inevitably change their architectures.
Absolutely. Before we look at how marketers are attempting to circumvent this search volatility by using AI for outbound sales, by the way, if you're finding this deep dive helpful for your strategy, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our future editions.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
So we know inbound search is volatile right now, and the natural reaction for a lot of B2B companies has been to buy fully automated AI sales bots to basically brute force their way into buyers' inboxes.
Yeah, the hype cycle over the last year promised us AI SDRs that never sleep.
And the pitch was incredibly seductive, right? Like, plug in an AI agent, give it your ideal customer profile, and it will magically handle the prospecting, the personalization, the timing, the judgment.
And you just sit back and watch the meetings roll in.
Right. But the reality is completely different. Mick Kittewer shared this satirical but honestly painfully accurate story. He joked about replacing his human sales team with 14 AI SDRs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they sent 9,000 completely generic emails asking for a quick question that they never actually stated.
Of course.
Then they generated 40,000 personalized videos featuring weirdly blinking avatars that consistently mispronounced the prospect's company names.
Oh, that is painful.
And the grand result of all this automation was 4 opens and 1 single reply asking if he was all right.
That's hilarious. But the satire hits hard because the actual market data reflects it. Jonathan M.K. shared some hard numbers that act as a massive wake-up call for the industry.
What were the numbers?
Well, the most heavily funded AI SDR company, a platform called 11X, reportedly lost 78% of its annual recurring revenue right past the 90-day break clause in their contracts.
78%. Wow. I would argue that tells us everything about the mechanism of failure here. Companies are signing up, getting dazzled by the demo, and then within 3 months, they realize the AI lacks the contextual awareness to manage a multi-step email thread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It hallucinates details, damages the domain reputation with spam complaints, and the customers exercise their opt-out clauses immediately.
Didn't Artisan, another massive AI SDR player, just post a job listing for a human BDR?
They did. Yeah, they absolutely did. And when the companies selling fully automated AI sales reps have to hire human sales reps to sell their product, the market has spoken.
Yeah, the irony is thick.
Very. The underlying data shows that AI-only SDRs generate fewer meetings, trigger higher spam filter rates, and produce drastically lower meeting-to-opportunity conversions than human hybrid models.
So if replacing the whole human is failing, we have to look at what actually works. Joe St. Germain provided a really good structural alternative here. He pointed out that instead of buying a $5,000 a month tool that tries to act like a human, which, as we saw, sees a 70% churn rate, the answer is narrow automation.
Narrow automation, yes.
He built a highly specific tool for one manual bottleneck, which was answering complex security questionnaires. That task used to take 2 days of waiting on a busy CTO to provide answers.
Which kills momentum.
Exactly. Now, a sales rep gets a CTO-level technically accurate answer in 15 minutes.
And that distinction between broad autonomy and narrow automation is crucial. Eugene Kadzin and Johnny Vrancic, who actually builds go-to-market systems for major enterprises, they both stated plainly that autonomous AI SDRs just do not work reliably with today's technology.
Yeah, the tech just isn't there yet.
And there is a massive legal blind spot that most vendors are ignoring too. Yunus Emre Azkaya pointed out that the EU AI Act, specifically Article 50, requires companies to explicitly disclose when an artificial agent is communicating with a person.
And almost nobody is building that disclosure into their outbound workflows.
Nope, they're just pretending it's a real person.
It really feels like the tech industry is obsessed with building a fully autonomous, level 5 self-driving car for sales, when all the sales reps actually need right now is cruise control and a highly accurate GPS system.
That's a perfect analogy.
Give them the map and the speed, but let the humans steer the car.
And that maps perfectly to a brilliant historical parallel drawn in the sources regarding the medical field. Back in 2016, Geoffrey Hinton, one of the absolute pioneers of deep learning, publicly stated that medical schools should just stop training radiologists because AI would completely replace them within 5 years.
Oh, I'm familiar with this. It's a classic example of the Jevons paradox. AI made interpreting a medical image drastically cheaper and faster. So because the friction dropped, hospitals simply ordered vastly more images.
The demand skyrocketed.
Right. And because the volume of raw images exploded, the human judgment required to finalize those diagnoses and communicate them to the patient, that became the premium bottleneck.
Exactly. And the exact same dynamic is happening in B2B outbound. Craig Rosenberg and Oshin Val both emphasize this in the sources.
How so?
Well, AI makes drafting and sending a hyper-personalized message practically free. So every company increases their volume by 10x. Buyers get overwhelmed, and inbox filters naturally escalate to block the noise.
Right, it's an arms race.
Yeah, and the result?
Yeah.
The human sales rep who can exercise genuine empathy and strategic judgment, like knowing precisely why to call a specific buyer on a specific Tuesday, that becomes infinitely more valuable.
Because you simply cannot automate empathy.
Exactly. You can't.
Man, every marketer listening to this right now has likely had a CEO or a board member ask them for their AI strategy this month. And the temptation is to just swipe a corporate credit card, buy a few of these isolated tools to show activity and hope for the best.
Oh, I see it all the time.
But based on what we are seeing, how do we apply that premium human judgment at the structural level?
Well, that ad hoc approach is precisely why organizations are hitting a wall right now. MyJojo outlined a fascinating 5-level maturity model for go-to-market teams.
Okay, what are the levels?
So level 1 is basically assisted AI, your standard chatbots. Level 2 is automated, where these tools run in isolation. And she notes that almost the entire industry is currently stuck at level 2.
So I'm guessing everyone stalls at level 2 because, well, connecting all these isolated tools requires unglamorous data plumbing that nobody actually wants to pay for.
Right, the stuff nobody wants to pay for.
Exactly. I mean, moving to level 3 requires actual structural engineering, not just, buying another software subscription.
You nailed it, because level 3 is orchestrated, which means the tools actually share context and communicate with each other.
Right.
And getting there requires standardizing data schemas, building resilient API endpoints, mapping out all those complex workflows.
Yeah, that's a lot of heavy lifting.
It is. And most teams just stall out because they refuse to do that foundational data work. In fact, Tony Larks noted that 60% of AI initiatives fail simply because the underlying data just isn't AI ready.
Because if you feed a fragmented, siloed CRM into a large language model, the AI doesn't magically clean your data taxonomy.
Not at all.
It just scales your garbage data at machine speed across every single customer touchpoint.
Which is forcing a very rapid evolution in the build versus buy conversation. John Miller shared an anecdote from a dinner with go-to-market leaders. There's a massive trend of marketing teams using AI to build their own internal software applications.
Which on paper sounds incredibly innovative and agile.
Oh, sure. But the reality is an absolute nightmare for IT. He mentioned his son vibe-coded a CRM that got hacked in a single weekend.
Wow. And for anyone unfamiliar, vibe coding is when you just prompt an AI to write software for you without actually understanding the underlying code or, the security vulnerabilities it introduces.
Yeah, it's risky. When marketing teams build homegrown apps to bypass enterprise procurement, they also bypass enterprise security, compliance, and maintenance.
Right, all the guardrails.
Exactly. The consensus at that dinner was that building your own go-to-market apps creates an unsustainable technical debt. Like, who patches the zero-day vulnerabilities? Who fixes the API when it randomly deprecates while the one guy who built it is on vacation?
Yeah, this pushes us away from marketing tactics and into a much more serious conversation about enterprise infrastructure. Caroline Bombart and Damon Burrell both highlighted this shift.
It's a big shift.
Agentic AI is no longer a localized, fun experiment for the content team. It requires true enterprise architecture. Boards of directors don't want to see a dashboard showing AI activity metrics. They demand AI-enabled business value that is secure and scalable.
Which inevitably brings up the topic of enterprise governance.
Which I have to push back on here because whenever a B2B marketer hears the word governance, they instantly think of corporate red tape that just suffocates innovation before it can even launch.
It's a very common anxiety, but we need to reframe how we think about governance.
Okay, how so?
Governance isn't a red light at an intersection. Think of it like a standardized electrical grid. If your company doesn't have agreed-upon voltages and standardized plugs across the enterprise, people are going to start plugging their random 240-volt AI tools into 120-volt wall sockets, and they will literally burn the building down.
Oh, I see.
Governance. So proper data architecture, security protocols, and strategic alignment is simply making sure everyone is using the same voltage so the business can innovate safely.
I love that framing. So we've got the structural plumbing mapped out, and we have the standardized electrical grid in place. But what are we actually pumping through these systems?
Right.
Because all the infrastructure in the world is completely useless if the actual output we hand to the buyer is terrible.
And this brings us to the core philosophical shift in modern brand strategy. Marvin Chow introduced a concept that perfectly encapsulates this: the brand bank.
The brand bank?
Yeah. Because generative tools exist, the actual execution of content, like the writing, the designing, the formatting, is essentially free. And the immediate instinct for many brands is to flood every channel with high-volume output.
They treat sheer throughput as the primary metric of marketing progress.
Which is exactly the wrong approach. When you pump out generic automated filler, you are making a quiet, continuous withdrawal of consumer trust from your brand bank. Consumers are already flooded with synthetic noise, which means the threshold for what constitutes good content has shifted entirely. Adriana Prico shared a brilliant example of this.
What does she do?
She built an AI agent named Aria to draft her newsletter. And the AI processed the inputs and generated a draft that was technically flawless. It had clean grammar, proper formatting, perfectly optimized keywords.
But I assume it felt completely hollow to read.
It lacked any real opinions. It took up space but said absolutely nothing of value.
Yeah.
Her takeaway is vital for marketers. The competitive differentiator is no longer whether an AI can write your content. The differentiator is whether a highly skilled human validated what it produced, injected a distinct perspective, and ensured it actually meant something before it was published.
Which ties perfectly into what Sarah Stella Latanzio was talking about regarding the AI slop witch hunt.
Oh, the witch hunt, yes.
Platforms like Substack are currently rolling out AI detection badges to publicly shame writers by showing what percentage of an article was machine generated.
Right.
But as she points out, chasing percentages misses the point entirely. Knowing a dish is 40% microwaved and 60% cooked by a chef doesn't tell you if the meal actually tastes good.
That is a great way to put it, and that's why she highlighted a company called Clay, which has one of the best internal AI policies out there. They don't ban AI usage. They simply ask their team one question. Can you personally stand behind every single sentence in this document?
Because mass AI content is essentially empty calories. It looks like a full meal, it takes up real estate on a screen, but it provides absolutely zero intellectual nutrition to your buyers.
Zero.
They consume it and leave feeling completely empty. If execution is now a commodity, then editing, taste, and strategic direction become the premium skills.
And if we follow that logic to its natural conclusion, it fundamentally alters the organizational chart of a marketing department.
How so?
Well, Rebecca Schultz and Rand Tamor pointed out that as AI successfully absorbs the execution layer of marketing, organizations are going to flatten dramatically.
I would argue that AI is going to brutally expose weak marketing judgment.
Yeah.
I mean, if an executive uses the efficiency of AI as an excuse to fire senior experienced marketers just to save a few dollars, they aren't going to get less marketing.
No, they'll get more.
They are going to get exponentially more marketing, but with absolutely zero strategic direction.
Synthesizing everything we've unpacked today, a clear picture emerges. The winners in B2B marketing over the next 3 to 5 years will not be the teams with the most AI subscriptions, nor the ones who produce the highest volume of daily content.
Right.
The winners will be the organizations that successfully architect structured, governed, and secure data foundations, and then combine those systems with deeply empathetic, highly strategic human judgment.
Which builds perfectly on that brand bank concept from earlier. If execution is virtually free, throughput is no longer an impressive metric. Discipline is your only real deposit into the brand bank.
Exactly.
So the ultimate question for marketing leaders isn't how much you can produce. The metric that truly matters now is what you refuse to ship. Like, how many automated drafts is your team actively killing every single week before they ever leave the building?
If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on field marketing, channel and partner marketing, account-based marketing, MarTech, go-to-market, and social selling.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.